Rabbi in the United Arab Emirates murdered in alleged anti-Semitic terror incident. The brutal murder of Rabbi Zvi Kogan, a 28-year-old Israeli-Moldovan member of the Chabad-Lubavitch movement, has rocked the UAE and raised fears of rising anti-Semitic violence. Kogan, a beloved figure who ran Dubai's only kosher deli store, vanished on November 21st and was later found dead, sparking international outrage. Emirati authorities swiftly arrested three Uzbek nationals, but motives remain unclear. Israel's foreign ministry declared Kogan as killed because of who he was, while Prime Minister Netanyahu vowed to bring the killers to justice, stating, quote, the state of Israel will use all means at its disposal. With whispers of Iranian involvement, despite Tehran's denials, lingering tensions over regional conflicts and the Abraham Accords have come under scrutiny. Kogan's death underscores a fragile balance in the UAE, where Jewish and Israeli communities have flourished since normalization, but now face fresh uncertainty. So this was obviously a huge story. Um, I because when I first heard about it, it was last week, or like the day before we filmed the show, and at that point he was just missing, and then it became clear, like missing, potentially kidnapped, and then his body was found, and it became clear that he had been killed. What's very interesting is the UAE has basically declared this to be an anti-Semitic terror incident. The His kidnappers and murderers had fled the UAE, they'd gotten to Turkey, and then were immediately extradited back to the UAE, where it was revealed that all three of them were Uzbek nationals who were operating in the UAE. Um, Now, I the in terms of investigation about why this happened, motives are not clear and not much has been officially revealed yet. I did read some reports about how, because of the conflict in Gaza, that his shop had been receiving some harassment. So, for example, there was reporting that like the mezuzahs have been ripped off of their doors and stuff. Um, but in terms of who did this and why, I think it is not unreasonable to make an educated guess that it is probably Iranian involvement. Um, the Islamic Republic is known to kidnap people straight out of the UAE, including Jamshid Sharman, who was a German national US resident who was kidnapped in 2020 and then recently executed. So they just straight up kidnapped him out of the country when he was only in the UAE for a connecting flight. We know that the Islamic Republic operates within the UAE because there is a large presence of Iranian expats in the Emirates, and that the Iranian the Islamic Republic has a history of hiring kind of Eastern European, oftentimes post-Soviet, or just outsourcing in general, outsourcing their criminal activity and terroristic activity to other groups to be able to accomplish their means. And they do this with, different reasons. One of them is that it can give them a sense of plausible deniability. Um, One problem is that a lot of those operations tend to have a low level of professionalism, I would say. Um, that being said, another reason why I am inclined to believe that it was the Islamic Republic is because the Islamic Republic is so pathetically bad at actually doing anything to actually threaten the security of Israel, that the next best thing that they can do is to terrorize and attempt to kill and abuse random Israelis and random Jews around the world. That's kind of the next best thing that they can do, is just go after random Jews around the world because they're so freaking inept at doing anything of substantive damage against Israel. Now, that being said, Armin, do you think I'm off base? Is is this the possibility? I feel like this is the most likely explanation based off of the information we have so far.
I mean, it's a fair guess, but the problem is that anti-Semitism is so strong that the potential candidates are, high in number. It
Mhm.
could be the Islamic Republic. It could be just a Muslim who was just angry for what's happening in Gaza, and because of that high level of anti-Semitism, like, oh, great, a Jew, I could basically express my anger on this guy, right? So because anti-Semitism is so prevalent among Muslims, it's hard to know for sure who did it. The question is it more political or ideological? And I know there's always there there's an overlap between them, but the primary motive could be anti-Semitism, anti-Israeli, anti-Jewish, which makes it more ideological. But but if it's more a political reason, it could be that would make the Islamic Republic answer more possible if it's political. And here's why. I know that the Islamic Republic is ideological, anyways. However, the reason why I say if it's the Islamic Republic, this is more political. The explanation for that is, first of all, you have to understand that the Islamic Republic is not one thing with one agenda, right? So if this is the Islamic Republic, some people within the Islamic Republic would be against it, because some people within the Islamic Republic are noticing how dangerous the situation has become for the Islamic Republic, and doing stuff like this. There are elements within the Islamic Republic that are trying to negotiate with the United States and go back to the table, because they know that their survival is at risk right now, and they see that the only way that we could survive is to getting back on a less aggressive approach towards the West and the rest of the world, right? So there are some elements within the Islamic Republic that see this as a problem, acts like this as a problem, but there are also other elements within the Islamic Republic that think that they need to have results like this to appease their base, because they are looking pathetically weak, uh, regard to what they're able to do to Israel. So if they cannot take out any Israeli military assets, we need to have something to show to our base that we are making life miserable for the Jews or Israelis somehow, so that we don't look this pathetically weak to our base. We need a sacrifice. This is basically the blood that some of the base is asking for. And again, a lot of the base are asking for more. Like, they want to see Israel's military being handicapped or like destroyed in some way, and they have nothing to offer, so they go after a random civilian just to be able to have something. And whether or not this is the Islamic Republic or not, some people within the Islamic Republic will try to take advantage of his killing to say, like, oh, this was us. So it might even be some other Muslim who's doing this for anti-Semitic or anti-Israeli reasons. And even if it's not the Islamic Republic, there are elements within the Islamic Republic who desperately will come and act like this was them, just so that their base that is looking like, what are you doing against the Jews? They're doing everything they want to us, and we have very little response. So the response, that part of the Islamic Republic either has to pretend that everything that you're hearing on the news is propaganda, and the axis of resistance is actually winning, and Israel is crumbling. They are, and they have a certain amount of their audience in Iran that works for them. You won't believe how many Hezbollah and Islamic Republic supporters are watching everything that is happening in Lebanon and Gaza right now, and have been convinced that they are actually winning this war, right? So
Oh, I need
for
to have a
some,
whole conversation with you about that. It is wild. Sorry.
it is. it is so like they're living in their own bubble. It's unbelievable. It's so amazing. Like, for example, right now that there's a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, there are so many Hezbollah supporters in Lebanon and in Iran. They're like, oh my God, this is fantastic. We defeated Israel. Look at, we have Israel was defeated because they had to agree to a ceasefire.
Oh
It's
my
unbelievable.
god.
The level of cope is, I don't know. It's they live in a parallel universe. Not, they don't live in our universe. They're so far away
Seeing a
from reality.
Hezbollah victory celebrations is insane, and I'm like, "Do you know the
Oh my God.
terms of the ceasefire agreement? Because I do. It doesn't make you guys look good. Also, do you know the timeline? Do you know what happens after 60 days? Trump is in office,
Do you,
motherfucker."
that but I don't know. If I start talking about how ridiculous that is, I'm not going to be able to stop. So
Can
I
you
don't know.
please do a stream on Hezbollah Cope? Armin, that would be
That's
so good, actually. That would be such a good
Hezbollah.
stream. Remember when you did the
Yeah,
meme
maybe it's.
streams?
Hmm.
We need
Yeah,
a
maybe I
Hezbollah
should do
Cope
Hezbollah.
stream. That would be so good. Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, please.
The main argument that they're making right now, okay, is should I talk? Should I make that, or maybe I shouldn't talk about it because we're behind, right? Um. But anyways, I shouldn't. I shouldn't. I won't make that. I'll do maybe another stream about that because what the main arguments are for why they're winning and why that's ridiculous. But
Mhm.
anyway, so it's either brainwashing and coping and acting like they're winning, even though their ass is being handed to them, like they're acting. And this is very dangerous, guys, because the reason why so many Palestinians are suffering, the reason why so many Lebanese people are suffering is because they are, no matter what the fuck happens to them, there are people who convince them that they're winning, and this is why they will continue to suffer. The main way that we will end this war is for the Palestinians, um, to finally realize that there's no winning this war. And the more brainwashing that we have, the more, like, no matter, because no matter how much you win in military battle, if they are convinced that they're not losing, they will just continue. So this is very
Yeah.
bad. This brainwashing is actually really bad for the Palestinian people. Anyways, but for the other people who are not convinced, because I know these people are religious maniacs, but some of them have come to the realization that this is not what winning looks like at all. Like, this is, they keep telling us that we're winning, but this doesn't look like winning, right? So for those people, the Islamic Republic, some elements within the Islamic Republic is desperate to show some sort of result, and this might be one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing that I wanted to talk about in this news story is, Armin, if you could go down. There are a couple of Emirati figures that I follow. And, granted, I want to be clear that I obviously have limited access. These are people who are facing the English speaking audience. I don't know what the general UAE attitude is. And these are specifically activists who are like very pro Abraham Accords, very pro Israel. Um, and seeing their reactions to this event was interesting. So here's one guy. His name is Amjad Taha. To our beloved Jewish community, good news of strong and firm justice is coming to every racist, anti Semitic criminal. You are about to face the hell of hell. Proud to be from the UAE, a country that stands for law, order, and zero tolerance for hate. So, one thing that I've been
Wow.
finding very I don't know the right word for it. I mean, for lack of a better word, like amusing or interesting, is the reaction from some of these figures that I follow that kind of represent the very pro Abraham Accords type of Emirati. And it's like they took it personally. Like, I
Right,
don't know
right,
how to
right.
put it. It's like, you killed a Jew in our territory. I took that personally. Like, how dare you? And I find it very interesting because this guy in particular, he often talks about how the West is doing a bad job of handling Islamists, where he just talks about how like I don't know how to put it. Basically, like, I don't know what you Western guys are doing where we're from. Like, Islamism is illegal, anti-Semitism is a crime. Like, you can't do that here. This is why we are a good place. Da 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 da. Da. So if you scroll down,
Mm.
um, so there's this other one from what's his full name? Luai al-Sharif. And Luai, I believe, actually knew the victim, Rabbi Kogan. And here was another example of this attitude I'm talking about. The Minister of the Interior, Sheikh Saif bin Zayed, delivers a strong message to anyone who attempts to undermine the security of the UAE and its residents, stating they will face decisive punishment. Next sentence: capital punishment remains a legal penalty in the UAE. So
Wow.
the vibe is like, I don't know where you guys thought you were. Like, I don't know how you thought this was gonna go down. The vibe is very like, the subtext is these guys are gonna hang for this, and we're happy about it. Like, I have a certain, I don't know like the right way to put it. Like, it's kind of, it's an honesty. Like, they have no qualms about being honest about, like, what goes down there. Like, for Loai or that other guy, like, they don't necessarily, like, they don't really pretend that they have free speech. Like, Luai is like a monarchist. Like, he is actually not really for democracy and for his nation, blah blah blah. And so they, like, don't really apologize for these things. And there's a certain level of um like, honesty about it. It's a certain level of unapologeticness that I uh appreciate, even if maybe I have like criticisms or whatever. That I find very refreshing, because it's just kind of unapologetic, I guess I could say. I don't know if I'm making sense. But Armin, if you scroll down, uh there's another one. Luai again, saying the UAE condoles the families of our dear brother Zvi Kogan and the Moldovan Israeli citizen. The UAE also expresses its gratitude to Turkey for extraditing the criminals and reaffirms its commitment to tolerance, coexistence, and security at all and for all. May God avenge his blood. Like, they just full out like, oh no, these guys are getting the iron fist. I don't care. Like, um, yeah, exactly. Like, zero chill. And I have a certain appreciation for the honesty of the zero chill. You know, they're not quibbling about it. They're just being full blown. um, am I making sense? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not
No.
saying it's right, but I think the not pretending to be something you're not is kind of refreshing, if that makes sense. Um so that's been very interesting for me to kind of get the temperature check of those kinds of figures and how personally they took this, and how the UAE as a nation, or their leaders, seem to be taking this very personally, in the sense that they cracked down like very swiftly, extradited the criminals very quickly. And there was a senior official that also, I believe, went to Israel to attend the funeral of the rabbi himself. Um, Armin, what do you think of my assessment of this attitude?
Yeah. I mean, no, you're right. I mean, whether we believe in your principles or not, we appreciate the honesty, right?
No.
And I mean, there's a lot there that we could celebrate. The we're not totalitarians. We don't need you to completely be in direct everything. Not everything you want has to align with us for us to celebrate the progress, right? The wanting being at the side of the Abrahamic Accord, being against anti-Semitism, wanting normalization of a relationship with Israel, being against the spread of Islamic radicalism in your country, being in favor of law and order, having some other principles of the liberal order and believing in that, that is a sign of progress. That the more that we see that among Arabs, we celebrate it, even if it's not all the way. Like we could be, if they don't believe, if they believe in capital punishment, if they are against free speech, if they are against a couple of other things, we don't look at where we are right now to judge. We look at the trend, right? So the best way to judge is not look at where they are now and be like, okay, that's not where that's not ideal. You have to look at where they were before and where they are now, and you could celebrate the direction rather than judging it purely based on where they are at. And things are moving in the right direction, I think, in some Gulf Arab countries. And it's interesting to see some Israelis are actually um, noticing how some people with the traditional Arab clothings, when it comes to Israel, they have the best takes on Twitter. So I think like some people, yeah, So I mean that's great. That's by the way, the traditional Arab clothing, it's not a religious. It's an Arab identity.
Yeah.
It's not an Islamic identity, right? So, for
Mhm.
example, if you want to look at clothings, like
The
for
super,
example,
like, Khaliji look.
this
Yeah.
is not religious. This is an Arab identity. So for example, this is Islamic clothing. Like this clothing is meant to highlight your Islamic identity, right? But this clothing is not meant to highlight your Islamic identity. This clothing is meant to highlight your Arab identity,
Mhm.
right? So this is traditionally Arab. This is like, for example, just as an example, this is like, hey, I'm a Muslim. This is, hey, I'm an Arab. So just learn the difference.
Um,
Yeah.
I think the super formal, like, Gulf Arab robes that they wear are so freaking cool. Like, get a
Yeah.
dude wearing that with a rifle on a horse, like, you can't tell me that's not badass. Um,
Right.
oh, Emmy in the live chat saying, "Yes, as Emiratis, we are horrified that someone dared to do this in our country." Yeah, no, that's what I mean, like, people are taking it really personally, like, how dare you bring kind of this, like, dishonor to people who are kind of like guests in our countries, who are new, who came here, um, uh, and they have, zero delusions about what's gonna happen, okay? Uh, so let's
I think
go
Susie,
to this.
Susie, you're secretly enjoy that demonstration of strength a
I
little
don't
bit. You
know how to
enjoy that.
put it because I appreciate the honesty about it. They're not pretend. I
Yeah.
don't know how to put it. I can't articulate myself well.
Yeah.
Like the
Eh,
best thing that I can. I mean, this isn't. I don't know. It's really hard for me to articulate. I think it's because I'm so freaking exhausted by being in
Leniency
like, well, no,
towards
like,
bullshit.
progressive I've been so solidly in progressive areas for the majority of my life that I'm so used to people, like, having a sense of, like, hypocrisy and really talking out of the side of their mouth and a lot of innuendo and euphemism and not really being fully honest about what they say, what they mean. Um, but this is honest. Like, one thing that I've said that, one I have an easier time sometimes having a respect for certain people who are heavily right leaning versus people that are heavily left leaning communists because the communists rarely will be honest about the cost of their ideology versus someone who's like maybe more on the authoritarian right will just be like straight up honest about what the consequences of their ideology is and they'll be like yeah and that's a good thing but there's a intellectual honesty about it that I um can appreciate even if I heavily disagree with them. It's the dishonesty and the lying of the commies that drives me crazy,
Right.
but that's a different we need to move on.
I just want to highlight some growth in our chat because I
Mhm.
was gonna highlight this and call it out, but then I saw some change in tone, which I appreciate. Because Nina was saying, "Sorry, they look like pigs to me."
No, that's his
No,
pajamas.
pajamas to me. Okay, okay. So that's actually less bad. But then she changed her. But people called her out, and then she said, "Okay, I guess I'm dooming too much. You're right." I don't know if this is response to because people like she was being like because she was basically I think she was suggesting that these Arabs. If I don't know if I'm interpreting her messages correctly or not, but she was basically suggesting that, oh, they're all Arabs or something. And again, guys, if we want to get out of this, we have to get away from that way of looking at the world. Um, the way, if you want stability in the Middle East, if you want Israel to survive, if you want liberalism to grow in the Middle East, just like looking at anything Arab and basically crossing over that, that's basically the opposite of what we want. Okay, we
Yeah,
are seeing a huge sign of
lame.
progress. No, but I want to celebrate Nina because people told her, and she said, "Okay, guess I'm doing too much," and then she says, "You're right." That's fantastic. This is why I love our chat, because even if I know, we have such a positive effect. Look, Nina saying, "Yeah, I admit I'm doing too much." Yes, fantastic. I do. Yeah, that's fantastic. No, you're great. You're great. You changed your opinion. People corrected you, and you accepted criticism, and that's the growth that we like to see in our community. That's fantastic. I love that. Yeah.
Um, okay, so Dan Dave gave a super chat saying, not a good idea for Jews to be going to Muslim nations in India as well. Israeli government and Indian government advises Jews to only remain in Hindu areas and to not reveal their identities to Muslims. Sad but true. I mean, that's not entirely accurate though, because the Emirates have gone such a long ways in welcoming open Jewish life in their country. I mean, based on what I've observed. Um, yeah. Um,
I mean,
plunge
by the way,
cast.
just remember that every time something like this happens, we have to point out like what happened in the UAE. Again, I appreciate the UAE trying to maintain law and order and everything. That's good. However, this also is a reminder that why we need Israel, and and this also confirms Zionism as a legitimate project. So just remember that every time. But yeah, let's continue.
Zero chill. Plungecast just became a new member. Thank you so much, Plungecast, which is a good reminder to everyone that one of the best ways to support this channel is to become a member. You can do so by hitting the join button down below. And you can also support us via PayPal or Patreon. Links are in the description, and it helps keep the show going because we run multiple channels, projects over here at Atheist Republic, including our Persian channel where we spread corruption in the land. Um, this comment, I don't know how to say this name in Hebrew. Okay, to the Jews in the live chat, can you please answer a question? I went down a rabbit hole last night trying to teach myself and learn and kind of clear up the differences in the different sects of ultra orthodox and Haredim and who's Hasidic and non-Hasidic and all this stuff. Can someone please tell me? I cannot get a clear answer on this. Is Chabad orthodox or ultra orthodox? Please enlighten me because I am confused. Okay. Dan Dave gave a super chat saying pre-Islamic Iranians were great friends of Jewish people, from Cyrus to even Sassanids who supported a Jewish rebellion against the Byzantines in the 7th century.
Yeah, well, the Sassanids were self-interested because the Byzantines were their enemies. I prefer the Hachameneshian. How do you say Hachameneshian in English? Achaemenids. The
Yeah.
Achaemenids were more tolerant than the Sassanids. The Sassanids pretended like like the Achaemenids, but they were relatively intolerant. The Achaemenids, even though they were ancient, it's ancient history. They are the earliest record of proper multiculturalism in ancient history. If you and this is not propaganda, but this is you could read it on Cyrus's cylinder. The reason why the Jews managed to go back and rebuild their temple, the second temple, was because Cyrus the Great was allowing everybody to just live their own lives and basically, as long as they're not interfering with other people, right? But the Sassanids, they were actually pretty firm. They were pretty intolerant towards other ways of living. um I mean, if they supported the Jews against the Byzantine, it's because they were anti-Byzantine more than if they were pro-Jewish. Yeah, but the Achaemenids, or the Hachamanishan, they were properly multicultural or and
Mhm.
tolerant. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Cyrus was
this
just doing politics. So,
dumbass
go
is
ahead.
saying Muslims have no non-Muslim friends. Muslims are commanded to smile in the face of unbelievers, cursing them in their hearts. So Muslims have no non-Muslim friends. Get it in your heads, people. Well, I have Muslim friends, so
Yeah, I have Muslim friends too.
calm down.
You're crazy.
Um,
Calm down.
Bull McLeod gave a super chat saying tribute to Susanna because she said how funny last week. It's true. You do get me sometimes. You be getting me. Um, Prash asked a question saying, Armin, was Zoroaster a real person? Was Zoroastrianism founded to be an inversion of Hinduism?
Okay, so whether Zoroaster was a real person or not, we don't have any historical evidence for them being a real person. However, legends and myths are usually based on something that happened. So even though we don't have any historical evidence for the existence of Zoroaster, my guess would be that his story is probably based on some guy that existed at some point. And also, was Zoroastrianism founded to be inversion of Hinduism? I don't think it was like intentionally built to be the inversion of Hinduism. I just think that whatever both Hinduism and Zoroastrianism are founded upon ideas that came before them, and given that how the some of the beliefs in Zoroastrianism seem to be the mirror opposite of Hinduism, there seems to be some maybe this suggests that there was some competition or some tensions between the proto-Zoroastrianism and proto-Hinduism ideas that came before what we today recognize as Hinduism or Zoroastrianism. But what did that exactly look like? I don't know, and I don't know if anybody knows. It's just interesting, but it wasn't intentionally built to stand against Hinduism. It just seemed to be some competitions or tensions between the roots of their ideas, given that some of their ideas are completely against each other or the mirror of each other. So yeah.
Um, we also got a super chat by Gasian American saying silk is a gift given to us by the goddess Liutzu. Is it okay to drape it over the Kaaba? Why is it okay to drape it over the Kaaba? Exactly. Okay.
Mm.
Gasian asking the good questions. We shall not tolerate this. Apparently we have copyrighted the cube, trademarked the cube, and now we got to trademark silk.
Yes,
And
by the way, I
also,
said copyright. Copyright is the wrong term to use. If you
yes.
you could trademark a cube. You can't copyright a cube, but yes.
I'm still getting conflicting answers about if Chabad is Orthodox or ultra Orthodox, please. And also, I just want to give a shout out. I think this stuff is so cool. I don't know why people be hating. You're telling me that this doesn't look freaking badass? So I just have a real appreciation for these kinds of things. This is freaking cool.
I mean, okay, this is cool. However, I don't think most Arabs have the time to put this much effort into making their clothes look this good.
No, of
I
course.
think
I
this
mean,
guy is a
people, this is
model.
for a special
Yeah.
occasion. This is definitely for a
Yes.
special occasion. I'm just saying it looks dope. I mean,
Yeah, this looks dope, but yeah, that there goes a lot of effort into looking this good. I think this guy's a model.
he's a musician. Um,
Oh, okay.
I'm just throwing it out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
people don't dress in their traditional outfits every day, but when they do, it's
Right.
pretty cool.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.